from coal to nuclear power to solar to wind, depending on the evolution of the technology, and still keep the same car park of electric cars, no matter what. So we think this is going to be one of the major challenge of the car makers, is to bring cars that are totally compatible with the situation of the environment and the challenge of the environment, and to bring cars which are affordable, because the question is not to be able to bring great cars, zero emission, extremely expensive, which are going to be out of reach of most of the consumer in the world, and try to support the development of the car park in many countries. Let me give you a couple of statistical examples about why the car industry is going to have huge growth in front of it. Today in the United States, you have about 800 cars per 1,000 inhabitants. That's the statistics. Europe has in average 600 cars per 1,000 inhabitants. I mean, Portugal, Italy, Spain are all around practically 600 cars per 1,000 inhabitants. China has 50 cars per 1,000 inhabitants. India has 30 cars per 1,000 inhabitants. Brazil has 150 cars per 1,000 inhabitants. Russia has 200 cars per 1,000 inhabitants. Indonesia has 12 cars per 1,000 inhabitants. Who can imagine one moment that the Chinese are not going to have the same level of automation than the Portuguese, or that the Indians are going to accept a level of automation which is way below what exists today even in Russia. So we can see today the pattern where all these countries are going to be moving up in terms of automation. In fact, our statistics show that when people are progressing in terms of acquisition power in this country, the first thing they want to buy is a car, no matter what. And it's not a small car, it's the largest car possible. I mean, people talk about small cars. Small cars are for rich people. The people who are really buying their first car, they want the largest car possible because they want to transport their friends, they want to transport their family, they want to transport the goods. The small car is the third car of the family, or the car that they're going to use in specific things. But when you have one car, you want to make sure that you're making the most out of it because it's a major investment. So what car manufacturers have to do is, at the same time they're developing small cars for rich countries, they need to develop the largest car possible at the lowest cost possible for the developing countries, where car is still the item or the vehicle or the product that they want to buy in first priority. And we think that our duty as car manufacturer is to be able not to become specialist of one specific need, is to make sure that at the same time that we are struggling to figure out what is the best cars for India and struggling to figure out what are the best cars for China, that we continue to work for the best car for the United States, the best car for Japan, the best car in terms of emission and in terms of consumption, at the same time about what is the best car for people who are car lovers and who want sports car and this kind of needs. So mobility for all, sustainable mobility are a little bit the summary of the strategy in terms of product and in terms of growth. The last point I want to make before opening it for question is what makes the lines different from Volkswagen or from Toyota or from General Motors, because these are the three groups which are in front of us, are about the same size than us. Well, what makes us different is the diversity. Diversity means we are, bunch of companies linked together, completely different personalities, different culture, different bases, and we don't have one dominant culture. So in a certain way, diversity is something which is the illustration of the lines. Particularly when you compare it to all the other major automotive groups. I mean, if you take Toyota, which is really the symbol of the Japanese company. If you take Volkswagen, which is a symbol of a German company. Or if you take General Motors, which is a symbol of an American company. While the Alliance is a Franco-Japanese, Chinese, Russian, Korean kind of association, network of companies, working together, sharing the best of each culture, and trying to, at the same time, keeping a certain level of autonomy between the different companies, sharing synergies for the highest performance possible. That's what makes the lines different from the other company. And this is where, you have a challenge to prove that a culture based on diversity can, at the end of the day, deliver more performance than a culture which is very strong but very uniform. There's this still, the jury is out here to say, can you make out of this conglomerate of very different company and very different culture an entity which, at the end of the day, 5 years, 10 years down the road, is going to outrun or outperform associations which are more uniform. And frankly, it's an interesting debate because or you consider diversity as a strength, or you consider diversity as a weakness, which means, and the debate is open. Say, well, obviously, if you have a very uniform group, you're going to perform much faster, you're going to be much more efficient, it's going to require you less energy to do a specific objective. It is true. At the same time, when you have a group which is diverse, it's take you much more energy to put the team together. At the same time, you're going to find much better solutions. Or you're going to go way beyond what you thought you would be going at the beginning, because by sharing opinions coming from different angles and different culture, you end up finding better technology, better product, better compromise, and probably make better decisions than if you were a very homogeneous group. There is a lot of research taking place in this arena, and a lot of research coming with some particularly academic institution, but we are running our operation based on the fact that we think diversity at the end of the day, even though it's harder, it will bring you better decision and better product. So I'm going to stop it here because I know you want to ask many questions, and I just put a little bit this presentation to allow you to direct me in any direction, talking about management, product, technology, etc. So I'm going to open it for the floor to ask any question you want.
Questions? Okay, I think we have microphones, and it's important that you speak into the microphone because we're recording this. And please identify yourself and tell us, your role here if you are at your role here.
Thank you for your talk. My name is Jolene Lee. I'm a first-year Masters of Public Affairs students at the Woodrow Wilson School. My question is, how does Renault-Nissan position itself vis-a-vis regulators when it comes to fuel rating standards? As you know, at the moment, the ratings don't take into account any emissions that come indirectly from for electric vehicles from the grid, from electricity production. And I was curious where you see that trend going, whether you think that's something that might change, and what Renault-Nissan is doing in its conversations with regulators on that.
Okay. Well, the first, we don't have one position at the level of the alliance, because what you need to know is that each company take position country by country, region by region, because we're still facing regulations which are very different. As you know, the ultimate regulation emitted by the United States is very different from the one that we are seeing in Japan or seeing in Europe. So practically we take position per geographic zone. We had a lot of discussion with the Department of Energy in the United States about the decisions which have been taken where, as you know, I think there was some CO2 emission attributed to electric car under a specific logic, when we think that electric cars are zero emission by themselves. They are zero emission. Now the debate is, but in order to make electricity, you are emitting CO2, and the CO2 or the emissions you are emitting by producing electricity should be attributed to the electric car. But obviously, we're not responsible of the production of energy or the production of electricity. And you know that if you make electricity out of coal, or if you make electricity out of wind or nuclear power, you have a completely different balance. So again, to answer your question, we do it region by region, country by country, and practically, we harmonize the position of the alliance practically per region. But this is something which is pretty evolutive and absolutely not standardized at the level of the planet.
Up there.
Hello, my name is Georg Weisbach. I'm a postdoc in computer science. I'm wondering, so the Chinese government is heavily promoting electric cars, whereas in the US and in the Western countries, there are still lobbyists who are promoting the combustion engine and fuel-powered cars. So I was wondering, 10 years down the road from now, do you think it will be still the case that the Chinese will be dependent on the cars that we're producing, or won't it be the other way around, that we are actually going to depend on their know-how that they're expanding now because they're already only investing in developing electric cars rather than spending time on developing better combustion engines?
Yeah. Well, we